My name is Ed Kane. I'm with the Old Fort Mifflin Historical Society, and we welcome you to Fort Mifflin.
I have. So I ask that you remember that today as our men and women continue to go into harm's day. Many made this decision knowing they're going to be sent into harm's day. I'm in charge of a recruiting company, and those young men and women that choose to join today know that we've been at war for 11 years, and that they're going to be going to war themselves when they're volunteering. So for the last 11 years, we've proven ourselves in one of the most difficult environments our nation has ever faced, that being the mountains of Afghanistan. And for 8 years, we've been in the deserts and the cities of Iraq. Our leaders at every level have displayed unparalleled ingenuity, flexibility, and adaptability. For instance, the Navy is currently serving in Afghanistan, which is a landlocked country, helping the Afghans to develop their logistics and supply system. Through that, our servicemen and women have displayed the mental and physical toughness, but most importantly, courage under fire. And I'm proud to be a part of that every day, as I'm sure all the veterans here today are. On this day, I want to especially point out the 1.1 million men and women that we have in uniform today. And when I say 1.1 million, when I came in the active duty Army in 1987, we had 1.2 million in the active duty Army. Today it's 1.1 million in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard combined. These men and women live by a professional ethos that asserts we will always place the mission first, and we will never accept defeat. We will never quit, and we will never leave a fallen comrade. When I think about veterans, I think about Army Corporal John St. Jean, who was a soldier of mine. He was an immigrant from Haiti, and after being shot in the head in Afghanistan and surviving it, he now serves our nation as a Customs and Border Patrol agent. I also think of Navy Lieutenant Brad Snyder, who lost his eyesight to an IED in Iraq. However, he just won the gold medal in the Paralympics. I also think of Air Force Technical Sergeant Christopher Aguilera, who was burned over 80% of his body when the rescue flight that he was on in Afghanistan was shot down. Or how about retired Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant Patrick Gonzalez, who lost both of his legs in Vietnam. Yet last month, even with his prosthetic legs, he went into a burning building to save a man. And despite the fact that his prosthetic legs, the plastic on them melted, he crawled out of the building, dragging his fallen comrade behind him. Or last but not least, most famous of all, would be, at that time, a little-known Coast Guardsman who was injured in Guadalcanal, serving his country, went on to serve 28 years in the Coast Guard and retire. Then he wrote a famous novel. We all know that novel today is Roots. Alex Haley, who was wounded in the Battle of Guadalcanal as a Coast Guardsman. I also think about the lone sentinel standing watch over the tomb of the unknown soldier during a hurricane, as just happened with Sandy. And I think about our Medal of Honor recipients that are recognized for bravery and gallantry. Many veterans, past and present, just like these, have served our nation. And that's why we set aside Veterans Day. So I ask that today you take a moment of your time, as you all here are, but once we leave here, remind others, the people out there that think it's just a 4-day weekend or a 3-day weekend and a chance to, go off somewhere and party. Remind them of the sacrifice that others have endured so that they can enjoy this time today. Thank you.
We were expecting Commissioner Lloyd Ayers, and I don't see him present, so I would like to continue on and call on Captain Edward Kane from the Pennsylvania State Regiment.
Good morning. It's been a tradition here over the past several years since we always celebrate the anniversary of the bombardment on Veterans Day weekend. I would like a show of hands of all veterans, public and reenactors. Please raise your hand, all veterans. Now I want everyone that knows a veteran to raise their hand. Put your hands together and appreciate them with the applause for the service. proclamation from the mayor's office. Tribute. The city of Philadelphia is full of rich American historic sites that tourists and locals alike can take full advantage of. One significant location is the preserved site of Fort Mifflin, originally called Fort Island Battery and also known as Mud Island Fort. Fort Mifflin sits on Mud Island on the Delaware below the Philadelphia International Airport. For nearly 6 weeks in the fall of 1777, American troops in Fort Mifflin and Fort Mercer frustrated British naval attempts to resupply their occupying forces in Philadelphia. Early in the morning on November 10, 1777, the British took definitive action to reach Philadelphia via the Delaware. Daybreak brought a rain of cannon fire upon Fort Mifflin, beginning the largest bombardment of the Revolutionary War. Fort Mifflin has played a role in almost every war in the United States that has fought since the Revolution. The United States Army began to rebuild the fort in 1794 and through the 19th century. Restored in 1795, Fort Mifflin was again manned during the War of 1812, though it saw no action. It housed prisoners during the American Civil War, and the Army decommissioned Fort Mifflin in 1962 and returned it to the city of Philadelphia, where historic preservationists have restored the fort. Today, Fort Mifflin is restored to its 1834 appearance. Visitors can enjoy a wide range of activities at this busy historic site, and the fort offers daily weapons demonstrations and still has 14 authentic restored buildings, which include casements, the Northeast Bastion, the Arsenal, various batteries, soldiers' barracks, officers' barracks quarters, and a blacksmith shop. All of these buildings can be explored by the public through self-guided or organized tours. On November 10th and 11th, 2012, Fort Mifflin on the Delaware and the Old Fort Mifflin Historical Society Incorporated, along with 200+ American Revolutionary reenactors, will come together to commemorate the 235th anniversary of the siege and bombardment of Fort Mifflin, to pay honor to those that gave the ultimate sacrifice on these hallowed grounds. It is fitting and appropriate, therefore, that the city of Philadelphia officially recognize with this tribute Fort Mifflin and the defenders of the Delaware garrison for preserving one of the only intact Revolutionary War battlefields and the only fort in Philadelphia for over 200 years, as well as hosting tours for patrons that they can experience history firsthand. Signed, Michael A. Nutter, Mayor of Philadelphia. At this time, it's also been our tribute to lay a wreath in honor of over 250 men that were killed and wounded here on these grounds in 1777.
Thank you, Ed. We'd like to call on Sergeant Pinter to continue the program.
This is a very special year for the Bugle. It's the 150th anniversary of the composition of the bugle called Taps. Composed in 1862 on the Civil War battlefield, after losing 600 men in a fierce 7-day bloody battle, and wounded himself, Brigadier General Butterfield, with the assistance of the bugler, composed this most emotional piece of music to bury his fallen comrades with full battlefield honors. Ever since that day, it's been used as the final honor from our nation to lay another military hero to rest, or to honor those military heroes no longer with us. It is customary and appropriate for you to show the same respects during the sounding of taps that you show during the playing of our national anthem. If you consider yourself a patriot when the order is given to present arms, if you are in military uniform, you will present arms. If you are a veteran, you're authorized to salute. If you're a civilian, you are urged to place your hand over your heart. The bugle call taps.
Tight! Shoulder y'all! Shoulder! Firelocks!
Present. Huh.
Down! Present y'all! Present! Ah!
Order.
Stand! Shoulder y'all! Shoulder! Firelocks!
Thank you very much for assembling in honor of our veterans. We will now raise the Fort Mifflin garrison flag. You're welcome to stay and honor that or disperse on your knees for preparation for battle.
We're running on time.
A few minutes. Okay, a few minutes. A few minutes. Bring in the order.
Hey, well. Diane! Order y'all! Order! Firelocks! In place! Rest!